Hello again, Old School Ben. I have a confession to make. I'm a Pokemon fan. Not only that, I'm a fan of Pokemon challenge runs, whether they are Nuzlocke, Softlocks, or my personal favorite, solo runs. I find it incredible that fans have found so many inventive ways to play this loved and cherished game outside the already broad scope that the developers had intended. I'm talking, of course, about the original Pokemon Red and Blue, the classic that introduced the West to the wondrous world of Pokemon. Now, there has been lots of speculation on some of the message boards I frequent on whether or not a Caterpie only run could be possible in Gen 1. The argument, of course, is that since Caterpie is one of the weakest Pokemon in the game, among a number of other factors, it would not be possible to complete the game with Caterpie as your one and only in Generation 1. Out of pure spite, I loaded up a new game to prove that it could be done with only a single Caterpie, to become the very best like no one ever was. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it. Now first, as we start out, let me just explain my setup. Not only am I going to be earning all 8 Pokemon Gym Badges from the original game, the Elite Four and the Rival, I'm going to be doing it on original hardware. I'm going to be playing the game on a copy of Pokemon Red through Pokemon Stadium on the N64. The reason being is that Pokemon Stadium will allow you to play the game up to 3 times faster than its original speed, making much of the tedium of the game, things like grinding and battling, go by quicker so we can get on with this challenge run. And, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to explain some of the reasons why Caterpie is such a bad choice for a solo Pokemon run. Caterpie only knows 2 moves, String Shot and Tackle. Tackle is of course Tackle, and String Shot is one of the very few bug-type Pokemon moves. Now, sadly it does no actual damage, but it does in fact decrease the speed of an enemy Pokemon. This is going to cause problems for us, not only because one attack does literally 0 damage, and the other is the weakest normal attack, but also, as he stands, Caterpie would have no way to physically damage Ghost-type Pokemon, which is the very point that spawned the idea for this challenge run in the first place. Avoiding battles with Ghost-type Pokemon is one thing, but I am going to need to find a solution before I get to the Elite Four and fight Agatha's gaggle of Ghost-type Pokemon. So let's dive in. I roll my character. Let's call him Bugman. And of course that means that the rival, the enemy of the bug, must be King of the Hills Dale Gribble. After starting the game, I find myself at the first of many decisions that will impact my Caterpie's journey. Since the odds are literally stacked against us, we're going to have to manipulate the game to give him every single advantage we can control. Picking Bulbasaur as our starter is a great way to get our asses handed to us later in the game when Dale's Charmander grows into a bug-stomping Charizard. So let's instead pick Squirtle, which will give us the advantage over plant-type attacks when Dale's Bulbasaur eventually grows into a Venusaur. Now, since we aren't able to catch a Caterpie in the wild until a little bit later in the game, we're going to be using a Game Shark to acquire him early. We will then train him to the appropriate level to fight the first rival and begin his journey. Now pay attention, this is where things are going to get a bit interesting. In order for this run to be possible, we are going to need one tough bug. Not only that, we are going to have to tip the scales in every possible way in our favor. The developers never intended the game to be played this way, and it really shows, with multiple speed bumps throughout this playthrough. With its weak moveset, I would be relying on techniques like Struggle to get through the game, and I don't find that fun or engaging. Not to mention that Struggle does literally nothing against ghost types, so it would be an exercise in futility with the game ending at Agatha, if we even got that far. So this is where I decided to spice up the playthrough and manipulate the game's data to give Caterpie a fighting chance of actually making this thing happen, defying Game Freak and spitting in the face of Nintendo. I use a Game Shark to spawn a regular ass Caterpie, then use a code to give him the best possible Pokemon genetics. What this means is it will be the fastest, strongest, most durable, and have the best special stats available for this Pokemon. This may seem like a bit of an overreach, but not really. Caterpie's stats are arguably worse than Magikarp's in many aspects, and its defense is significantly lower. Not to mention that a bug type has many weaknesses in this solo run, so I also use a code to give him a second type, which is going to be normal. This will allow for stronger normal type attacks, as well as taking advantage of Stab, the same type attack bonus, and hopefully will help since our defense is so low. That also means that Caterpie will be weak against fighting types, but that isn't anything new for Caterpie anyway, so we just have to be super careful. Since Caterpie doesn't learn any new techniques and is incapable of learning any TMs or HMs, I have decided to give Caterpie a custom moveset. My next decision will decide the entire fate of the run. I can literally give him any 4 moves in the entire game. I need something that I can use to deal damage to ghost types if I plan on taking Caterpie all the way to the Elite Four on his own merits. I ultimately settle on Headbutt to replace Tackle, Leech Life to replace String Shot, a bug type move that can actually deal damage to ghosts, Pin Missile for the same reason, and I also consider it to be the toughest bug type move in Gen 1, for reasons we'll see soon. Lastly, I decided on Amnesia to boost the Caterpie's special stat. I'm essentially going to be using it as armor against special attacks, giving Caterpie the defensive coverage that he so desperately needs. I hack in a few PP ups to max out Caterpie's PP for each move, and with that, we are ready to make our way through the forest to earn our first badge by defeating the very first gym leader, Brock. Before we can move on to Viridian Forest, the first place you can actually catch a Caterpie, we have to give Dale his first proper ass whooping. After some quick shit talking, the battle commences. I command Caterpie to use Amnesia, but getting hit by some of Dale's infamous pocket sand makes it incredibly hard for Caterpie to hit his mark. With grains of sand in his eyes, Caterpie is beaten until he's tender, but ultimately makes it to the next Pokemon, Bulbasaur. Leech Life is going to be a great move to use against plant types, as it's super effective, and Caterpie is really going to need to rely on that to gain back health. Even taking a huge chunk of Bulbasaur's health in the first go is squandered, as Caterpie attacks blindly against his foe, but finally lands the winning blow. You can see in one of the first real fights in the game, I barely squeaked by with a victory, with literally the strongest version of Caterpie possible at this point in the game. Even with enhancements and a cherry-picked moveset, this challenge run is not going to be a picnic. After a quick heal, I make my way past the caffeinated old man into Viridian Forest. The creatures of the forest put up a little bit of a fight, but since Caterpie is much stronger and bug type is effective against bug type in this game, I ultimately make it to town with one goal: to take down Brock and earn my first gym badge. I start out extremely confident. After squishing all the other bugs in my path in the forest, things quickly change when I get to Brock's gym. I make short work of the other trainer, but after a quick visit to the Pokemon Center, I am ready to engage Brock in battle. I attempt to boost my special stats before finding out that none of my attacks really do much damage. However, Caterpie has Pin Missile, the best bug attack in the game. It can hit up to 5 times, doing a good chunk of chip damage if we get lucky. We're going to have to get lucky against Brock because his rock Pokemon are offering quite the challenge. I'm able to slowly chip away some of Geodude's health, but it's too little, too late, as Onix squishes Caterpie in only 2 turns, forcing me to fail the run and reset my game. Now, this would be a good time to address the fact that I am actually keeping Squirtle as part of my party as a means to progress through the game. Squirtle, of course, can learn both Surf and Cut, but for the purposes of this run, he has been taught Cut, Surf, Strength, and Fly. He never actually partakes in battle, and since this is a solo run with Caterpie doing 100% of the fighting, he will never gain experience or level up. He's literally just along for the ride as a means to see this run through to the end of the game. Now, Brock actually holds his own against my Caterpie and serves up a beatdown for the second time, forcing me to reset and giving me the realization that I will have to be relying on healing items a bit more than usual, or at the very least try a couple different other strategies. Leech Life really isn't as reliable of a move as, say, Giga Drain or Leech Seed, so I leave the gym and I shamefully buy some potions. I return to fight Brock for the 3rd time, but this time I use a much more aggressive approach, giving me the edge in this match and leaving me with much more HP as I go in to fight Onix. The problem with using Amnesia as a defensive move is that it raises defense against special moves, but it really doesn't do much against normal type moves, such as Tackle. And since Caterpie already has a very low defense stat, using Amnesia is basically like throwing a turn away in this gym. Also, my bug type moves aren't going to do much to damage Brock's Pokemon even when they do hit multiple times. Caterpie may not be strong, but he is lucky, and when Geodude goes down, the same strategy is just effective enough to eke out a victory against Brock without even needing to use a single potion. Brock, impressed with my determination, awards me with the Boulder Badge and the ability to use Flash, which we will not even be using in this run. Since TMs are no good in this run, I sell Brock's considerate gift for a little extra moolah. I will be doing this for most of the items that I pick up throughout the game. Items such as rare candies, proteins, and other items will be fed directly to Caterpie to save room in our inventory, but I'll be saving rare candies until we get to the Elite Four. If you are curious about the number of Master Balls in my inventory, they are there in case I bump into any legendary Pokemon that I can then transfer to Pokemon Stadium. None of these Pokemon will actually see any action outside of being caught and transferred, at least in this video. Another fail condition of this run: this is a Caterpie only run. Allowing it to evolve into Metapod will not only force me to lose, but also reset our dual bug normal typing that we set up earlier, we aren't deep enough into the game to really see the benefits of that yet. Moving on, we will make our way to the entrance of Mount Moon. It's the only way we can get to Cerulean City, and I hear they have a gym leader that looks cute in a yellow tank top. But before we get there, we have to fight a couple of scrubs for Caterpie to use as practice. In fact, we are going to try to battle as many trainers as possible so we can earn enough XP and money for healing items. I'm going to be skipping talking about the trek through Mount Moon since mostly just more Geodudes and Zubats, which isn't exactly exciting gameplay footage. And after healing and bumping into Dale for the second time in our journey, we have another chance to see how strong our little Caterpie has gotten to square up against Dale's dead bug. Dale's Pidgey is actually a force to be reckoned with, but goes down after a few of Caterpie's squishy headbutts. Abra, on the other hand, is weak against bug-type moves, and offers a chance to deal some heavy damage as well as replenish some HP. We out-level Rattata enough to take him out with a single headbutt, but we still have to take out Dale's Bulbasaur before we can be named the victors. Pin Missile just chews right through Bulbasaur's leafy exterior, and victory is ours. The stale smell of cigarette smoke sticks with us as Dale sulks away in defeat. Feeling hot from battle, I charge through the ranks of the Nugget Bridge to fight the Rocket Grunt. Our Caterpie and bug type in general fares very well against poison types that Team Rocket Grunts are known to train, and after training up our Caterpie and turning Bill back into a human, we get our SS Ann ticket and head back to town to take on Misty. You may be asking why we're even bothering boarding the SS Ann in the first place if my Squirtle already knows Cut. The truth is, there's actually quite a bit of great items we can use or sell, as well as a ton of XP and the rival battle, and that always serves as a point where we can compare how strong our Caterpie has become. More on that later. We're off to fight Misty. Misty promises me an all-out assault with her water Pokemon. Fortunately, our Caterpie outlevels both Staryu and Starmie. This is where Caterpie's ability to perform Amnesia really shines. You can see how much of a difference the special defense boost as Water Gun just splashes right off of Caterpie. Caterpie leeches just enough health from Staryu to defeat him. Starmie's Water and Psychic dual typing usually allows for increased defense, but not against bug-type moves in this game, and Caterpie came here to win. I collect my rightful Cascade Badge, sell the spoils of my victory, and prepare to move forward. Squirtle is now able to use Cut to clear the path for another part of the game, but I already explained why we're going to the SS Ann, and Lieutenant Surge isn't going to spank himself, is he? We're off. Now it's funny, I've always considered Dale to be kind of a shut-in, but I was too surprised to find him aboard the SS Ann with his Pokemon. He felt the same way. At this point, I'm out-leveling everything he throws at me, and I leave the vessel feeling accomplished. After getting past Surge's bullshit fucking puzzle, I get to meet the man in the flesh. Surge's electrical Pokemon might have saved him in the war, but they won't save his ass now. Caterpie has become far too strong to let anyone push him around, right? Okay, so maybe I was wrong to underestimate the seasoned warrior on the battlefield. Regardless, after a few tactical readjustments, Caterpie not only headbutts his way to a victory, but also makes Lieutenant Surge's Raichu flinch, allowing Caterpie to rub his nose in it. The Thunder Badge is mine. After I sell some of my bullshit for my victory, I'm ready to take on Erica in Celadon City, but I decide to take down Giovanni at the game corner first instead. Well, I came, I saw, and I used the same strategy that worked against Brock's Pokemon. Spamming Pin Missile isn't the most elegant way to push through this, but it's what we have. While we may be struggling to scratch Giovanni's pet rocks, they haven't managed to do a terrible amount of damage, so consistently applying pressure, we ultimately defeat Giovanni. Impressed, he awaits future engagements and vanishes into thin air completely unannounced. The real reason we're here is for the Sylph Scope, so we can ultimately get the Pokeflute and clear out a way for our next couple badges. So many young women look up to Erica in her gym. She's such a wholesome role model to an entire generation of Pokemon trainers. That's why it was so hard for me to kick down her front door, spank every little girl in the room with a single Caterpie, including Erica herself. Graceful as always, she awards me with the Rainbow Badge. Squirtle will also be able to use Strength outside of battle. Before I leave town, I want to grab a soda for the guards and a few other essentials while I'm still in the city. Next stop is Lavender Town, to fight Dale for the 4th time. Normally, this is where the game would start giving us some trouble with all the ghost types, but since our Caterpie is equipped with bug-type moves that actually do damage, and the Ghastly line is actually part poison, we actually fare quite well against the attacking apparition. At this point, we already outlevel his entire party, nearing level 50, but that doesn't mean we can slack off. I boost my special defense, but Dale still has plenty of pocket sand. Caterpie's attack misses, but we finally connect with a nice squishy headbutt. Dale's Gyarados has a high special attack, so another Amnesia couldn't hurt. Even though I outlevel the beast, it still gets me good with a strong Hydro Pump, but I answer back with a headbutt, knocking him out. Growlithe could cause some trouble for me being fire type with a decent special attack, but I headbutt him into submission before he even has a chance to shine. The Cadaverline tends to have high speed, but I still outspeed the Pokemon and sap its health with Leech Life, putting my HP back in the green. Ivysaur is much of the same, and now with nearly full health, I will climb the Pokemon Tower, defeat the Ghosts, defeat Team Rocket, and rescue Mr. Fuji, allowing us to progress further in the game. Though before we move on, we still need access to the Saffron City Gym in order to obtain the Marsh Badge from Sabrina. More Rocket Grunts do little to stand in my way, and before you know it, I meet Dale yet again. I use the exact same strategy, but you can already see how much better his Pidgeot is doing against our Caterpie. I'm not too proud to use a Super Potion during battle, and fortunately Dale's Gyarados' attack misses. I heal again, and while Leer can spell disaster for Caterpie, especially if Gyarados gets a critical hit, I'm at full health. I outspeed him, and I lay Gyarados out on the mat yet again. The combination of outleveling Growlithe and Amnesia means that his Ember attack, which should really do a good amount of damage to the bug type, actually does very little, and I take him out with a headbutt. You can now see how Alakazam's higher overall defense protects it from Leech Life, one-shotting it, and even managed to get in a decent attack, but ultimately it gets destroyed by yet another Leech Life. This will also be the tactic I use against Venusaur, super effective, but it manages to poison me. Another Leech Life, and I'm off to fight Giovanni. Again, Team Rocket isn't really that big of a deal, not that big of a threat to my level and my moveset. I breeze right through, and since many of the poison types that they carry are just a means for me to easily collect some extra XP, the same goes for their boss, Giovanni. His Pokemon are what the kids call weak sauce, and he goes down with very little struggle. I'm awarded an extra Master Ball for my trouble, and we're off to fight the Psychic Gym Leader, Sabrina. Oh, and the Fighting Dojo too. Even though I outlevel every single Pokemon in Sabrina's gym, I stop by the dojo for a little strength training. Normally, fighting types would be the worst thing our Caterpie could go against. Fighting types do a significant amount of damage to both normal and bug-type Pokemons, and with Caterpie's low defense, that would not be the ideal fighting scenario. However, the type difference is enough to give me the strong edge as I defeat the gym leader and make my way to Sabrina next door. Pin Missile, again showing its value against Psychic Pokemon, makes the gym leader a very short and simple battle. She awards me with the Marsh Badge and TM46. Psywave to sell. Our next stop is Fuchsia City, but before we get there, we have to make our way past a bunch of trainers, fight and kill Snorlax for XP, and then fight some more trainers before we can go take on Koga at his gym. Along the way, I made a few mistakes by using some of the others that the game gives you to restore the PP of a move. I should have just flown back to town and visit the Pokemon Center, but in the heat of battle, I wanted to push through to the next badge. I used the items instead. I only make a point of this now because later when we eventually get to the Elite Four, this will cause problems to the point that we almost lose the run, but more on that in a moment. Koga's gym is full of poison-type Pokemon, and Caterpie eats poison types for breakfast at this point. Caterpie is nearly double the level of Koga's Pokemon, and it doesn't take long for me to assert my dominance as a trainer. He awards me the Soul Badge, which comes with an increase in defense, something that Caterpie is going to need when he squares off against Blaine's Bug-type Pokemon and the Elite Four. Also, I gain the ability to surf outside of battle, something my Squirtle has been itching to do for most of the game. I don't know if it's because Koga is a ninja master or whatever reason, but you can't use an escape route to exit his gym. Weird. Rather traveling south and then to the west to the Seafoam Islands, I make an executive decision to fly to Pallet Town instead, then surf southward, avoiding some of the hiccups that would hold us up from getting our last badges, the next of which being the Volcano Badge. After finding the key in an old condemned building, I make my way to Blaine, the leader of the Cinnabar Island gym. At one point, I actually thought this was going to force me to lose my run if I didn't grind for XP and make my Caterpie stupid strong. On the cusp of level 70, my Caterpie is outspeeding and outlasting all of Blaine's Pokemon. I was crazy, right? Training Caterpie to be this strong is surely overkill, right? Well, I was wrong in that thinking, and in this moment, his level 47 Arcanine not only has a chance to attack, I get hit with Fire Blast. the strongest fire-type attack in Gen 1. Not only does it connect, but it also does a critical hit. And wouldn't you know, it was at that moment that the game came to a complete stop. I had wasted my time. Just kidding. I restart the game and try again. What kind of loser do you think I am? Wait, don't answer that. We have a Caterpie run to finish. After being much more aggressive than before, we defeat the gym leader and are rewarded the Volcano Badge. With that, we can finally gain access to the Viridian City Gym and defeat the mystery gym leader. I wonder who it could be. Well, of course, we all knew it was going to be Giovanni. I find Giovanni to be an interesting character, balancing a career in training Pokemon as well as running an underground Pokemon traffic rink. It's just impressive how hard of a worker he is to accomplish his goals. However, Giovanni never had to do it with a single genetically engineered Super Caterpie, so our struggles can't even be compared. I beat him before, and I do it again with medium effort. I get my final gym badge, and I'm off to fight the Elite Four to prove that Caterpie is the strongest Pokemon in the land. Meeting Dale for the showdown before the Indigo Plateau was a fight I was hoping to breeze through. My Caterpie's level is in the low 70s at this point, and most of my attacks can take down most Pokemon in a single blow. However, his fully evolved Pidgeot gives me trouble again, but he goes down and the battle has already cost me half of my HP. Rhydon is not a welcome face since every single one of my attacks does so very little damage, I have to rely on good enough luck for Pin Missile to hit multiple times. It's literally the only strategy that works against rock or ground type Pokemon that I have, and he happens to resist both bug and normal type moves. Fortunately, I chip his health down and take out Gyarados and Growlithe with an aggressive assault of headbutts, costing me some of my HP, but with any luck I can sap some of my health back using Leech Life. Alakazam doesn't put up much of a fight, and Venusaur basically rolls over immediately. I loosen Dale up, and we are ready to take on the Indigo Plateau and fight the Elite Four. Or are we? I feed all of my remaining rare candies to Caterpie at this point. This is supposed to be the end of the game, and the higher the level of the Pokemon is, the harder it is to level up with XP, so saving rare candies for this point made sense to me. As you can see, Caterpie has grown to have some reasonably high stats for such a weak Pokemon. I was afraid that we would never see this moment, but we aren't out of the woods yet. The next series of battles will be relentless, and we'll try Caterpie like no other feat we have experienced. So let's go. Avoiding the Seafoam Islands gives us zero experience with any Ice-type Pokemon, but with a little bit of aggressive strategy, Caterpie is able to push through. Ice-types are one of Caterpie's many weaknesses. Fortunately, we're able to tough it out and make our way to Bruno. Bruno may have a reputation as being a bit of a joke in the Elite Four, but his defense against my moveset is rock solid. However, I persevere, and I use the same aggressive strategies that have worked against Brock, Giovanni, and Dale in the past, and spam Pin Missile. In fact, that's going to be my main strategy with most of these battles, as Caterpie is still quite weak, and it's one of the only attacks that can chip away the HP of such a high-level Pokemon. With Bruno down, Agatha awaits. Now this would be the point of the game where I would not even be able to make a scratch if we were playing without a custom moveset. Tackle would do nothing against her ghost types, String Shot would only make the ass beating take longer, and Struggle in Gen 1 does nothing against ghosts, so this would be where we would meet our end. We have chosen to defy God and grant Caterpie with the choice of free will, allowing him to choose his own fate. While her poison types goes down with little struggle, the Ghastly line still has pretty good special defense and attack, particularly Haunter and especially Gengar. We take Caterpie's destiny into our own hands and defeat the old witch with very little PP left for both Lance and Dale. Let's see how this pans out. Halfway through the fight with Lance, I realize I don't have enough PP to win against the Dragon Master, and I already know that Leech Life isn't going to float me to victory. Having no items on hand that will allow me to restore my PP, I realize that this attempt was destined to end in failure, so I regretfully, but not shamefully, reset the game. I stock up on a few more items that may help me prevent the mistake of going to fight the Elite Four unprepared, and attempt to boost Caterpie's stats a bit through using supplements such as proteins and carbs. This next attempt is going to be different. Going up against Lorelai's ice Pokemon is a little less smooth than it was last time, I'm afraid. I'm able to completely boost my special defense with Amnesia early in the match, which makes defending against some of her heavy hitters like Cloyster and Lapras a tad more manageable. Cloyster goes in for Clamp, which is actually a water type move, and it prevents me from attacking. We get very close to knocking him out with a headbutt, but his defense is too high and our headbutts are too squishy to completely knock him out. However, the blow makes Cloyster flinch and I use a full restore on Caterpie, keeping him in the fight. But I'm not the only one who has healing items. The combination of Cloyster's high special and high defense and Caterpie's low damage dealing attacks makes for a drawn out battle. Slowbro is also a Pokemon with good defense against my attacks, however, he goes down just a tad easier than Lorelai's Cloyster. He also puts up a good fight against my attacks, hanging there just a few seconds longer. With 2 down and 2 to go, I take out Jinx before she can do much damage, and pretty much right out the gates I'm frozen solid by Lapras. Now if this was Pokemon Stadium, I'd pretty much be screwed, since being frozen is essentially a death sentence, as items aren't allowed. Since this is Gen 1 Red, I use one of my many Full Heals and Caterpie is back in the fight. And, by using one of my many Max Potions, Caterpie is back in the fight. As you can see, my Pin Missile strategy has its limitations, and I spend many turns healing and thawing myself as Blizzard continues to eat through my HP, even with very high special defense from the 3 consecutive amnesias. So I bring back Caterpie from Death's Door a 3rd time in this battle. God, am I playing Pokemon or Darkest Dungeon? Anyways, the Pin Missile trick isn't going to deal the damage I need, so if Caterpie fires off more of his squishy headbutts, Lapras flinches, giving us an extra hit to take her down. Finally, our Caterpie claims victory. Lorelai is dumbfounded that this is the 2nd time today she lost to some punk from Pallet Town, and I do a little routine maintenance to prepare for Bruno's rocks. Bruno's battle starts out with me boosting Caterpie's special stats with Amnesia. He's fought hard and he should forget how much of a grind the last fight was. Honestly, I'm surprised the little guy has even made it this far. Rock Throw does little damage now, despite being super effective, and while my defense might have been fortified, Bruno is doing the same thing with Onix, making my already weak attacks do even less damage. A couple of headbutts and a successful Pin Missile combo later, he goes down. I've had that Pin Missile against Bide bite me in the ass before, so I'm glad he goes down without retaliating. Headbutting and boxing is illegal, but fair game in Pokemon battles, however Hitmonchan stays in the fight with only a sliver of health. Leech Life isn't very effective, but it's enough to put him down for the count. I do the same thing but backwards on Hitmonlee, and he goes down in 2 turns. And since Pin Missile is all I really have against Onix, I give him what I got and he eventually goes down too. Machamp is next, and Headbutt does it again. That was a bit of a grind, I'm not going to lie. I prefer maintenance and head to Agatha. My plan here is to be aggressive and to push through her line, but I have to fire off a few amnesias before I do, since my defense is still shit despite being just under level 80, far higher than any of the Pokemon we are going against at the end of the game. After taking care of the first Gengar, Golbat both confuses, then uses Haze, so we get a few free hits in. I can't wrap my head around why a seasoned Pokemon master like Agatha would do something so stupid, but I'm glad that she did. I take down Golbat and the second Gengar with a successful Pin Missile combo. Then her Haunter meets the same fate as his brothers, and so does the final Gengar. Until this point, Caterpie hasn't had the luxury of defeating a Dragon-type Pokemon, but today is the day. In Pokemon Stadium, Lance has a Charizard that will give Caterpie a run for his money, but in Gen 1 Red, Dragonite may be the toughest Pokemon we have to deal with. I boost Amnesia and take out Gyarados. Gyarados really doesn't count as a dragon, he's a dragon in name only. He goes down with a few headbutts. I headbutt Gyarados, I headbutt Dragonair, I headbutt Aerodactyl, who's really more of a dinosaur. After a headbutt that finally lands, I use Leech Life and put him back in the ground. Headbutt is the reason for the season and Dragonite finally goes down. We did it. We beat the Elite Four, with only a single Caterpie. Lance hates to say it, but I'm a Pokemon master. But we can't be the very best until we defeat Dale and become the greatest trainer in Kanto. Now we both come a long way, and Dale has become a master of several strong and exotic Pokemon. I've become the master of the strongest Caterpie ever to exist in Gen 1. Both have their merits, but let's see how we fare against Dale in our final fight. I'm of course expecting his Pidgeot right out the gates, and despite my Amnesia boosting my special defense, Sky Attack still takes out a hefty chunk of my health, but he goes down. Alakazam can't stand more than 2 shakes of Leech Life, and his Rhydon is the latest rock and ground type Pokemon to fall victim to my Pin Missile Barrage strategy. He goes down without dealing much damage to Caterpie. Gyarados, Arcanine, and especially Venusaur take the beating, and with that I am the single best trainer in the region. And my Pokédex is only at 2. Professor Oak shows up to shame his nephew while praising me, and with that, the run is a success and finally over. Obviously, Caterpie, who is the hero of the land and the poster boy for the underdog everywhere, is widely celebrated. Squirtle even gets his name in the Hall of Fame, and all he had to do was move a couple rocks. Now, the solo run has taught me a few things that I didn't know about Pokemon Red, the game. It's a role-playing game. meaning that you can play through it any way you want to. Cheating the game and playing with a different set of Pokemon as intended does not break the game, but it makes it more challenging, and adds spice to a game that had been bringing people joy for over 20 years. But it also has taught me something else. Sometimes what is often considered weak and vulnerable is only a matter of perception. Those who have a disadvantage in life have to focus to become stronger, and work so much harder on their own to accomplish their goals. With a little bit of help, even the weakest of us can prove the whole world wrong. And that's all I have for today. This is my first video in a long while, and I honestly don't know when my next one is coming out. Hopefully soon, but who knows? I know I don't have a whole lot of Pokemon content on my channel, and I really don't know if I will have a lot more in the future. There are other projects that I want to work on, but maybe I'll have time to piece together another Pokemon playthrough. Lastly, I just want to voice my appreciation to anyone who's been following this channel. I don't need to explain to anyone how crazy this last couple years have been. Just know that I appreciate you, whoever you are out there, for even giving me the time of day and watching any of my videos. I'm immensely appreciative. Thanks again, and hopefully I can post something again soon. Goodbye!